WKYT News starts now with breaking news.
Good morning to you and welcome in. I'm Rebecca Smith.
I'm Bill Bryant. We have a lot going on. We're following a breaking news alert out of Dallas, Texas this morning.
Right now we know 5 police officers are dead, 6 others are wounded after snipers fired on a police protest late last night.
It all started just before 11 o'clock last night in Dallas. Throughout the night, the situation has continued to develop. Authorities in Texas are in negotiations with a suspect possibly connected to the shootings. Authorities say at least 2 snipers opened fire on police at elevated positions during peaceful protests over the recent police shootings of 2 black men that plunged into chaos there following this situation with the protests. CBS scrambling to get a reporter live on the ground in Dallas, but Brian Webb is joining us now live from CBS News headquarters.
After a standoff that lasted several hours, our Dallas affiliate is reporting the suspect shot and killed himself in a parking garage about 2 hours ago. This is after what was a peaceful protest erupted in gunfire. Dallas police say officers were ambushed Thursday night when snipers opened fire on police during a protest downtown. People ran for their lives. Officers used their patrol cars to take cover. 11 officers were shot, 5 died, including Brent Thompson, the first ever DART officer killed in the line of duty. Another DART officer, Misty McBride, was shot in the arm. Her young daughter spoke to reporters outside the hospital.
I'm just glad that she's alive, really.
One woman attending the demonstration was shot in the leg. She used her body to shield her son. Authorities took 3 people into custody in the hours after the shootings, including 2 individuals seen tossing camouflaged bags into the back of a black Mercedes. A standoff with another suspect in a parking garage ended early this morning. Officers had placed parts of the city on lockdown after the individual informed them bombs had been planted all over. Tensions were already high in Dallas and beyond following the fatal police shootings of 2 black men this week. The governor of Texas says now is the time to unite as Americans. Right now, authorities are doing an extensive sweep of downtown Dallas, making sure there aren't any bombs left behind. The search is expected to shut down a big chunk of the city for much of the day. Live in New York, I'm Brian Webb. Now back to you.
And CBS's Don Champion is on his way to Texas. Apparently, Scott Pelley is already there and preparing for a special report that is to be brought in the next hour or so. We hope to have live reports from Dallas just as soon as we get some new information in on this situation. Police in Kentucky are reacting to the news out of Dallas. Overnight, Kentucky State Police tweeted this: "Our thoughts and prayers are with the Dallas Police Department." Lexington Police say they will remain vigilant. They also said they feel like they have a great relationship with the community here locally, committed to serving and protecting. Also breaking news this morning, currently a large police presence in Georgetown.
It is at Paris Pike and Connector Road. WKYT's Caitlin Sentner is live for us this morning with more on what is going on here. Good morning.
Good morning, Rebecca. Very much an active scene here right now. There's not a lot we know right now, but Georgetown Police and Kentucky State Police are on scene. As I said, a large police presence right now. They're saying they're searching a car with canines, but won't tell us what kind of car or why they're searching that car. Unfortunately, all we know right now is what we can see. I did talk with the clerk inside the Shell gas station there in the background. He said police came in and asked if he had seen a couple, but didn't tell them why they were searching for this couple. The clerk didn't know who they were. That's all we know right now. We're working to get more information, and we'll bring that to you as soon as it's available. Live in Georgetown, Caitlin Sentner, WKYT.
All right, Caitlin, thank you very much. Now, turning our attention to the weather, which is something else we're going to have to be watching throughout the day today, including this morning.
It is a WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day. Let's turn to Micah now for the latest on that.
Yeah, and we have a few rumbles down toward the southeast and a couple of showers here and there. Not much going on at this moment, but I expect in the next 2 to 4 hours at least to see some storms pop up, especially across the central zones. Go 64 and BG Parkway, around that area from Lexington to, say, Louisville, and then make your way down the Mountain Parkway off into Hal Rogers Parkway. That's the area that we will start to see those storms spark up. And we're going to be seeing a flash flooding issue there as we go through your day. Once again, this is the 4th consecutive day we've actually been talking about that, and also damaging wind threats. So there's 2 things to watch out for: flash flooding, damaging winds. This goes into effect until midnight. We'll go over that, and I'll also show you when these storms actually finally move on out. That comes up in a few minutes.
Okay, we'll see you shortly. Thank you. Turning our attention now to some other news this morning and what is going on. Governor Matt Bevin has declared a state of emergency in the parts of the state, and this morning people across southern Kentucky will be picking up pieces left behind by the most recent string of storms. In Wayne County, several businesses and homes were damaged there. At Patriot Industries, part of the roof was torn off. Strong winds demolished a canopy over a picnic area, and it threw insulation everywhere there around. The winds also uprooted trees, scattered several outbuildings, and sent pieces of metal and wood flying. Power was out there for hours. Fortunately, nobody hurt in all of that. Storms also caused significant damage in Adair County. This is video from Columbia. Adair County Emergency Management says strong winds peeled off part of the roof of the Day-and-Day feed mill on Campbellsville Road.
Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin has declared a statewide emergency because of flash flooding in western Kentucky. That declaration opens up resources for public safety and assistance to help counties with flood damage. This video from Webster County south of Henderson shows flooded roads. In Crittenden County, US 60 was closed in several spots yesterday because of high water. Union, Hopkins, and Marshall counties also reported problems because of flash flooding. Remember, we can help you track storms even if you're away from your television when you download the WKYT Weather Plus Traffic app, and it is free. Well, new this morning, a young man has died after crashing into a tree in Lexington.
This happened about 1 o'clock this morning on Harrodsburg Road near Lane Allen Road. The victim is a 24-year-old man. WKYT's Mike Byer is live with the details on that now. Mike?
Good morning, Bill. We now know the name of the young man who was killed in this morning's deadly crash on Harrodsburg Road. The Fayette County coroner tells us the victim is 24-year-old Dalton Womack of Lexington. The deadly accident happened just before 1 this morning. Police say that's when Womack was heading outbound in the 2000 block of Harrodsburg Road near Springdale when he went off the road and hit a tree. We're told Womack was the only person in the car and no other cars were involved in the accident. Police say the 24-year-old was unresponsive when they arrived on scene. We're told he died at the hospital shortly after 1 a.m. Now, at this time, police don't know what caused Womack to lose control. They do say there was no sign of alcohol at the scene. Live in Lexington, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Lawmakers will meet today in Frankfort to discuss legalizing medical marijuana. Republican Senator John Schickel says a bill concerning the legalization of marijuana was one of the more controversial measures assigned to his committee during the 2016 regular session. He says Senate Bill 13 would have regulated the cultivation, testing, processing, taxing, and sale of marijuana to people 21 and older. Because of the overwhelming support he has received for the bill, Senator Schickel says it is important that the issue be thoroughly vetted before the 2017 legislative session. The meeting today is open to the public. It's at 10 o'clock this morning at Capitol Annex, room 129. WKYT this morning just getting started. It's 5:08 right now.
Some golfers can put in peace thanks to a remote control, put in peace, I should say, thanks to a remote control Gooseinator. We'll take a look at what exactly that does when we come back.
And we're looking at that flash flooding until midnight. Stormy day is ahead. It's going to be on and off as we head through your day. Your weekend looks much better, but I'll take you through the forecast hour by hour coming up.
This is CBS News Special Report. I'm Jeff Glor in New York. President Obama is about to speak in Poland about the ambush shooting deaths of 5 police officers in Dallas last night. 6 more were wounded. Margaret Brennan is awaiting the president in Warsaw. Margaret, good morning.
Good morning. Well, President Obama is here in Warsaw to tackle a number of national security issues here at NATO, but for the second time in less than 24 hours, he's going to be addressing the violence back home. It was last night, immediately upon arrival, that he first spoke out, saying he was deeply disturbed by what has recently happened in Baton Rouge and Minnesota, and called on Americans to really self-search here and look at some of what he called racial disparities embedded in the American criminal justice system. Hours later, that violence in Dallas erupted. So when we hear from the president shortly, he will be addressing those police shootings for what seems to be a developing situation that he has been briefed on throughout the night. Now, the president is currently in a meeting with some of the European heads of state here to talk about some of the national security issues, but this violence back home has followed him. He said just last night that he was on the plane, posted a Facebook message, then felt that he needed to directly speak to the American people, came to reporters' cameras and delivered some lengthy remarks, speaking without a teleprompter, speaking in many ways in what seemed from the heart, saying that he hopes that some of these racial disparities can be tackled in the lifetime of his children. But right now, he said Americans really need to look at this not as an issue for African American communities or for minorities, but broadly as an American justice issue. Jeff, so we'll be waiting for the president and his remarks shortly.
All right, Margaret, thank you very much. And just to recap here what has happened over the last 8 or 9 hours, if you have not heard about it. In Dallas last night, there was a protest over the police shootings that happened earlier this week in Baton Rouge and also just outside Minneapolis. There was protesters walking down the streets, marching down the street downtown, about a half mile from City Hall, and then this happened. Shots erupted, the crowd scattered there. You can see officers dive for cover while trying to stop what was happening there as everyone tried to protect themselves as best they can. You can see there is an officer down there. 3 people were taken into custody. There was then a standoff and a negotiation with another person who had a long rifle. That ended just a short time ago as that person apparently took his life. This happened, first started about 8:45 p.m. last night, as we said. The chief does believe 4 suspects were involved. It is unclear exactly how many weapons were involved, but Manuel Bojorquez is also in Dallas this morning. Manny, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jeff. We're keeping a close eye on the situation. It keeps evolving here. There were police blocking this intersection. Now that the standoff is over, it seems like they've moved their operation further into where the initial gunfire erupted and the parking lot where that 4th suspect was holed up and eventually killed himself. Let's bring you back to how this all started. The gunfire erupted with no warning Thursday evening as that march was happening in downtown Dallas. The downtown area turned into what can only be described as a war zone. There were about 800 people marching when it turned into chaos. Officials say the intent of the shooters was to kill as many police officers as possible. Demonstrators marching not far from City Hall ran for their lives as dozens of shots rang out. Police say this was a coordinated attack. There is also video that shows one shooter randomly firing a rifle over and over towards unseen targets. Police used their patrol cars for cover as they moved in to help wounded officers. The search for the gunman moved through downtown from buildings to restaurants, businesses and hotels. Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings spoke earlier, and he talked about just the dedication of the men and women who are out here as police officers and the distress, the devastation the city is going through right now. Jeff?
Thank you very much from Dallas. We are again waiting for the president to speak about what happened in Dallas last night. He is once again in Warsaw, Poland. This protest in Dallas again to address the police shootings that took place in Baton Rouge and Minneapolis earlier this week. What happened in Dallas, as far as we can gather right now, is the deadliest event for police officers since 9/11. We do caution you, dawn has not broken in Dallas yet, so we don't know what else may develop. We don't know what else police may find. We don't know what else they will assess. But that is where we are at right now. 11 police officers were shot last night by at least 2 snipers. What appears to be right now, although this may change, 4 people involved in these shootings. And it's our understanding that at least 1 bystander was hurt as well in this gunfire. Margaret Brennan is standing by in Warsaw as we wait for the president here. Margaret, let's go back to you again.
Jeff, the president is just concluding a meeting with some European leaders as well as his secretaries of state and defense, John Kerry and Ash Carter, and we expect the president to address these police shootings. Just last night, we know on the plane ride here to Warsaw to these NATO meetings, the president was watching news coverage of what he has described as disturbing images of Baton Rouge and Minnesota, laying out what he called racial disparities within the American criminal justice system. He made those remarks publicly last night. Since the Dallas shooting, which happened just hours after he addressed the matter, we haven't heard directly from the president, but we do know he has been getting updates on this shooting. That's what the White House has been telling us. So we expect the president to make some remarks shortly. His reactions to these police shootings. Last night, his appeal was a very emotional one, saying and really making the case for what many protesters were out on the streets in Dallas trying to lay out here, a feeling that the American criminal justice system is somehow rigged against minorities and African Americans. The president has said this is something that should trouble all Americans. Hours later, this eruption of violence in Dallas. So the president's going to be very careful here. He's going to give his reaction, but we do know that this is something he feels very strongly about and has been monitoring, even coming here to this National Security Summit here in NATO. He's been tracking all of this violence back home. So this will be the second time in less than 24 hours that the president has had to address some of these racially motivated, as he described them, frustrations. So let's listen to the president now talk about Dallas.
Let me begin by thanking Presidents Tusk and Juncker for the opportunity to meet today. With your understanding, I want to begin with a few words about the situation back in the United States, specifically the situation in Dallas, Texas. My team's been keeping me updated throughout the morning, the evening in Dallas. I spoke this morning with Mayor Rawlings of Dallas to convey the deepest condolences to the American people. I told him that the federal government will provide whatever assistance Dallas may need as it deals with this tremendous tragedy. But we still don't know all the facts. What we do know is that there has been a vicious, calculated, and despicable attack on law enforcement. Police in Dallas were on duty during doing their jobs, keeping people safe during peaceful protests. These law enforcement officers were targeted, and nearly a dozen officers were shot. 5 were killed. Other officers and at least 1 civilian were wounded. Some are in serious condition, and we are praying for their recovery. As I told Mayor Rawlings, I believe that I speak for every single American when I say that we are horrified over these events and that we stand united with the people and the police department in Dallas. According to police, there are multiple suspects. We will learn more, undoubtedly, about their twisted motivations. But let's be clear, there's no possible justification for these kinds of attacks or any violence against law enforcement. The FBI is already in touch with the Dallas police, and anyone involved in these senseless murders will be held fully accountable. Justice will be done. I will have more to say about this as the facts become more clear. For now, let me just say that even as yesterday I spoke about our need to be concerned as all Americans about racial disparities in our criminal justice system, I also said yesterday that our police have an extraordinarily difficult job, and the vast majority of them do their job in outstanding fashion. I also indicated the degree to which we need to be supportive of those officers who do their job each and every day, protecting us and protecting our communities. Today is a wrenching reminder of the sacrifices that they make for us. We also know that when people are armed with powerful weapons, unfortunately, it makes attacks like these more deadly and more tragic. And in the days ahead, we're going to have to consider those realities as well. In the meantime, today, our focus is on the victims and their families. They are heartbroken. The entire city of Dallas is grieving. Police across America, which is a tight-knit family, feels this loss to their core, and we're grieving with them. I'd ask all Americans to say a prayer for these officers and their families. Keep them in your thoughts. And as a nation, let's remember to express our profound gratitude to our men and women in blue, not just today, but every day. With that, I want to thank Presidents Tusk and Juncker for our work here today in Warsaw.
President Obama speaking and reacting for the
You've been listening to President
Obama,
Obama, who is in Warsaw, Poland for meetings right now, but he is, of course, addressing the situation back here at home in Dallas, where 5 police officers were killed overnight, 6 others wounded after they were ambushed during a peaceful protest that was going on there. President Obama, his words, calling it a vicious, calculated, despicable attack on law enforcement. He says that at this point we need to be supportive of officers who are simply out there doing their jobs. He also promised to deal with this, in various ways and to address the nation with more information.
Yeah, it's pretty scary stuff. A sniper-style attack there in Dallas at what was called a peaceful protest following some other police shootings that have been in the headlines this week. Let's turn over right now to Micah because it's another day.
We're going to have some weather later on today. I would say in the next 2 to 4 hours we start to see things pop up. We already had one lone shower roll right over the station. It's not much out there. There's really not. Now you're getting some brief heavy downpours down toward the southeast, but that area right through here, that's where I'm expecting those storms to fire away here in the next 2 to 4 hours, and I've outlined that area. If you are in this zone, heads up. I would say anywhere from, say, now through about 7 a.m., that's when you can start to see things start to build. But the thunderstorms really get going here in 2 to 4 hours. Watch this on your hour-by-hour forecast. It's a high-resolution model that we have in-house, and you can see that firing away in that area that I've outlined. This is 8 a.m. right here. And now you're starting to see some thunderstorms get going. The worst part of it actually comes right around noon into the afternoon hours. Look at that at noontime. Now you're talking about those storms barreling down on us. That's going to be your severe weather threat anywhere. I would say as early as 10 a.m., but I would say most of us right around noon to about 6 p.m. That's when we can start to see most of that travel on through. Here's 2 p.m. Still those storms barreling down on east and southeast Kentucky. Here's where we're looking at for some flash flooding. That's an area that is absolutely soaked. But look at the evening. Look at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Not much going on. So this afternoon hour, that's going to be your best bet for strong to potentially severe thunderstorms. However, we could still expect some storms as early as 6 or 7 a.m. Here's your look in throughout the next few days. Today, still looking for those on and off storms. Remember, you'll get on and off. You will get breaks in the action. So you'll be able to do some things outdoors, but just know you're going to have to adjust around these storms. It's a good percentage that we actually see storms today. Saturday, Sunday, much, much better, even though you see that small chance there on Sunday at 30%, and that's just a very small chance. So most of us are looking pretty good there for the weekend with the mid-80s, low humidity. That's exactly what we need after 4 consecutive days of on and off showers and thunderstorms. We'll be right back with much more on the coverage from Dallas and also more news, weather, and sports coming up.